Photoshop is very good for doing a lot of things regarding retail sales, including cars, all sorts of things, and t-shirts. So if you take a look at this website, as I hover over it, you can see how like the t-shirts are changing color, and that's all Photoshop basically. So I want to show you a couple things. These are screen grabs. If you take a look at this t-shirt, you can see that it has like several, different colors that were photoshopped in there. But also take a look at this t-shirt. This is the same t-shirt model, but you can see they swapped out the backgrounds to make it look different, and they have different designs on them. Although if you take a really close look at the hair on the left side of the rainbow there, and then you take a look at this flower, you can see that they chopped off a good little bit of her hair there, just probably because they were working fast, So I want to show you a couple things in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is I want to take your logo that you did for your personal brand, and I want you to export it as a PNG file with a transparent background. Let's go here. So I just created a logo real quick. Didn't think too much about it. And I went to File, Export, and we want to export this as a PNG. So we're going to say, go ahead, export this as a PNG. I'm going to do it medium. You can see the background color. We want to make sure it's transparent. So we say OK like that. So now we have something we can put into Photoshop. So let's go to Photoshop. So here I've included in this assignment a zip file that has some t-shirt models. There's some males, females, they have some different colored shirts. Speaking of colored shirts, you can also make a selection of the t-shirt and you can change the color. Let me show you how to do that. So I already made this. So you can see how it's this blue color. But if I use the blending modes on this, you can see that we can have it so that it's not transparent, but it is showing some of the shading that is underneath it. So typically when you have a darker color, use multiply, something in this range. This linear burn I thought looked pretty cool. It was kind of like multiply, but a little bit more extreme. You get a little bit more of the things there. The other thing you can do there is you can go to your image adjustments and you can adjust the hue and saturation. So if I hit colorize and click that button, I can change this shirt to any color I want. Sometimes you might have to change the saturation levels. Sometimes you might have to lighten it up just a little bit. But generally speaking, if you have a medium color, you can change it to any color you want. All right, so we'll just go with like a green color. No, that's probably, who cares? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my PNG file, and I'm going to go ahead and place it on top of this. Now you can see my logo looks fine, but it doesn't look like it's really on the shirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the blending modes again. So if I use these, it doesn't work. So what we want to do is lighten it, maybe a screen, something like that. Or overlay is a really nice one. We just kind of pick the one that we think is going to be the best. We want to have just a little bit of the shading going through. So a lot of times screen, I'm really liking this linear light right there. So I'm going to click where I can change the size of this thing. We're going to put my logo on the shirt there. And once you get your logo on the shirt, again, we want to see some of the folds underneath. I'm going to hit return. Once we've chosen a good blending mode, something that you think is going to look really nice, I'm going to go to overlay. I really like that a lot. You can adjust the opacity if you want to make it even more subtle, but I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to click this off. The next thing we want to do is we want to distort this a little bit because it's just too straight, too flat. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to transform with warp right there. So now what we can do is we can kind of buckle it a little bit where you think you might have some, curvature here. So maybe pull this up a little bit so it kind of pulls down a little bit. Depending on your, what you're doing here, we can kind of scooch it around a little bit. It's just, you don't want to go crazy with it, right? You don't want to go nuts. You just want to give it just a little bit, of a distortion so that it's not so straight. Let's see how that looks. And that's that. Now, let's try it on a black t-shirt because it's going to look a little bit different. So what I can do is I can just take that layer, I'm going to select it, copy it, I'm going to put it over here. All right, so again, this doesn't look like it's on the shirt at all. So we're going to go back into the blending modes and see what we can see. So usually a lighten screen, something like that, that looks pretty cool. It doesn't look realistic, but it looks pretty nice. A lot of times this linear light looks really good when you have a light on a dark. And we can dial in that opacity a little bit to make it look like, a lot of times when you have a light color on a dark shirt, it doesn't have a lot of opacity to it. Yeah, so that's the idea, is to get it to look reasonably okay. This might not look fantastic. I'm sure I could spend a little bit more time on it, maybe warp it a little bit more, especially up in this area up here. So let's go to Edit, Transform, Warp. Maybe we'll pull this in a little bit more over this way, pull this out a little bit, pull this down. And like parts that have like a definite wrinkle, you definitely want to do that. All right, that's it. Good luck. Thank you.